All right, this is Discourse week 7, we think.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe, possibly. Well,
So,
I'm gonna say
talking
this.
about Mr. P, and we don't know his whole name.
Can't say it.
So, what do you want So what do you guys think about how he wanted to teach like orphans how to live respecting lives? What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, about like underprivileged and such. Well, I think that's
Important.
yes, obviously. I'm sure it's difficult to go about that because, like they were saying, like he didn't have any money, but then the orphans didn't have any money either that they could like provide for him as well. So I think that somehow he would have needed to get some more like actual secure financial backing, which could have. He just didn't quite go about it in the right way,
I know,
right?
especially because like remember how his school got shut down too.
Yeah, 'cause
so,
of financial-
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he had some good ideas and good like his heart was in the right place and everything, but I just think he was.
He needed a partner or something.
Yeah,
He
he
has
needed
something,
someone to,
someone
like, back him
like
up.
the brains, because like it's
Yeah.
like when he bought the farmland, but like didn't check to see if it was fertile and you couldn't grow anything on it, right? Like it's just like kind of stupid mistakes like that, which I feel like really impeded with his ability to.
Get what he wanted to across.
Yeah, exactly, and just like use his philosophies and ideas because I feel like he had good ideas.
Well, especially because it was all his ideas with like child-centered education, right? So that's
Yeah.
what he really wanted. And he wanted like that active participation and learning experiences.
Yeah, definitely. I really liked his ideas of like the outdoor education and such, and how he really thought children needed to like go outside and explore and like learn from like natural objects and such in the world.
And then help with their self-discipline and all
Yeah,
that.
exactly. I really feel like that's
Develops their senses like observation and engagement.
Yeah, I really feel like that's important. I think that nowadays, like, children don't go outside enough, and they're not encouraged to go outside enough. It's very much like you go to school, you're inside for most of the day, just sitting at a desk learning, and then you go home and you play your video games.
Or
right?
on your iPad.
Exactly, yeah.
What was this about his well-rounded education had heart and hands? Does anyone know?
Education, head,
Where is that?
heart, and hands. Well, maybe,
Oh.
would that be like, so his education philosophy was like well-rounded,
Yeah.
where like you were educating your head
Your
and,
mind.
your mind and like your heart, so that would be like self-discipline
Morals.
stuff, yeah, and morals and such. And then your hands, would that be like going outside and like playing with like objects and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like his philosophy was very well-rounded, and
I kind of like that though, hands hurt.
yeah, I do like that as well. Yeah. And also, he was big on the whole cross-curricular education, so which we've learned a lot about this semester and last
I
semester
completely agree with that.
with like our
Children want a reason to learn something and to connect ideas between each
exactly. It's easier if you can relate to it and connect it to each other. You're good. Children are going to be able to. They're going to learn more stuff if they connect it to different items and to different ideas that they're
Like,
learning.
I think that it's true, like, going back, and he had the right intentions for everything. I think he just needed to think about the money situation, because that's what failed him.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, like, no, it's not free to figure out or to do anything in the world, right? Like, he needed to.
Have that
I guess he just
background.
didn't have the smarts or the wits about him to figure out the way to go about executing all of his ideas correctly. Really, is
Yeah,
what
the
it seems
execution of all his plans was the part that kind of like brought it
So
down.
would you guys use his teaching styles in the classroom?
His teaching styles, yeah, I
Would
would.
you promote like outside learning and like
Yes.
learning through play?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that like hikes and different outside activities and getting your kids outside as much as possible is really, really important because they're not going to get that as much at home as they used to. And so that's something that as teachers we need to take into consideration. You remember?
For sure. And I think that's
Yeah,
like,
from like
I
in
think
the
there's
past,
things
no
that
one
I
used
would-
like we used to go outside, and now like
Yeah.
children they parents want to keep their children busy, so they set them up with an iPad or a TV.
Exactly,
to
because
watch
they don't
this.
want to have to worry about
Exactly.
Yeah.
them.
I remember like building forts outside like out of umbrellas and stuff.
Yeah.
And like chairs and like I had to go outside and like eat like my dinner in like a little fort and everything because like I didn't want to leave it. Like I was always outside in that little fort, and that's so it didn't matter I guess as much if I was outside quite as much at school. But I feel like that's not how it is
no,
nowadays.
I don't think it is at all, really, to be honest with you.
Parents are also scared.
Of what's outside. Yeah, like their child getting taken. My mom was okay with me running up
Child
down the
falling.
street and falling, scraping
Like,
their
that's the
knee.
thing, like, I live on a cul-de-sac. It was like all of us kids were the same age, so we all were outside, like learning to ride a bike together, like playing, doing chalk. Like my parents were like,
Chalk, yeah.
And I was out in the middle of nowhere where there's bears and moose.
yeah.
I was in the bush.
But your parents still had you out there. People are definitely a lot more scared nowadays. I agree with that. I think that has a big impact on children going outside and everything as well.
Yeah.
What do you think about the autonomy based on natural development, balance of self-discipline that he was strong about? So like autonomy in the classroom, and then like how children have to self-discipline themselves.
I don't know. I'm like,
Yeah.
like self-discipline is beneficial, but I don't think for certain things it would be as beneficial. I don't know what an example of self-discipline would be, but it just seems kind of.
I think that first you need to like learn how to discipline. So
Yeah.
like before you expect the child to, they need to know what
Yeah.
like
What to
what
expect
is
and what to do.
exactly like before we create a unit plan or before we create something, we need to know how to
Yeah.
create it. We need to learn. You need to give us examples. You need to guide us through it, and then we can know. And especially because I do think self-discipline has its advantages because every person is unique and different.
Yeah, and
So
in that
then,
way,
I think it's a good way because
is
then you're
nice.
just
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think like, for example, kindergarten students, I don't think they're like old enough or like their brains aren't developed enough to know that they should self-discipline
Yes,
themselves.
there's like a time
Exactly.
and place for the correct amount and like.
Yeah, I think like as children get older in the classroom, that more autonomy is
Yes.
is needed and also is just able to happen.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it will happen naturally as well if you allow for that to happen naturally, right? So I think that's it's important to even lead by example and to model for your students what that kind of stuff looks like, and because you can't just expect them to know how to do like
Oh, for sure. You can't expect them to know. So you have to teach it.
yeah, exactly. Well, really, you have to assume that they basically know nothing. It's like I remember in some other classes, I think it was last semester, they were talking about how like I think it was English actually, where she was talking about how you need to teach children how to listen because they don't know how to listen.
You
It's
just assume that
everything
you're
you need
listen
to.
up. Well, what is listen?
Yeah, what does that mean? And you have to have like
Well, it's like
go through the
steps.
steps.
Like it's like we do a skipping thing. It's like kids don't know how to skip. You have to teach them how to skip.
Yeah.
Like you expect them to know that, but they don't. You
Yeah.
need to.
Really, you need to expect that they know basically nothing,
Yeah.
and then go from there. So I feel like
And then adapt and change. with
yeah, I feel like modeling is the best way to kind of go about that for sure. So
Yeah, overall, I think we like Mr. P and his teaching philosophies, and I hope to one day incorporate that into my classroom.
yeah,
I agree, for
yeah,
sure.
definitely incorporating some of that into our school.
See you next
So,
week.
Wrap.
Awesome.